Welcome to the Power of Food podcast. We are so excited to bring you evidence-based nutrition information focusing on addressing the root cause for imbalance. Food has the power to help you achieve lifelong optimal health without the side effects of prescription medication. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other podcast platform. I am Stacy Seslowski, functional nutrition registered dietitian.
And I am Leah Grace Barrick, functional nutritionist.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Power of Food podcast. We have a very special guest with us today, Hally Brooke. Hally is the founder and CEO of Live Nourished, and she is a certified functional medicine nutrition counselor, nationally board certified health and wellness coach, Fox 21 fitness and nutrition expert, and fierce industry advocate. What started as pure personal training has morphed over the years into a full wellness and nutrition practice. Hally has learned from years of education and experience working with clients that simply doing squats isn't going to cut it when it comes to being fully well. From that experience, she has built a thriving functional medicine coaching practice that works with clients in all the key areas of wellness, including movement, nutrition, mindset, resilience, relationships, and self-care. Her life mission is to encourage, empower, and free women by teaching healing. Whether as clients, through speaking events, or personally with the people she encounters, she lives this mission day in and day out. Welcome to the Power of Food podcast, Hallie. We're so excited you're here with us.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Amazing. Well, we were chatting before and Stacy and I were saying this is really the first time we've had a health coach come on. So we're really excited to chat with you about behavior change and how you work with people and just hear a little bit about like what health coaching is and who might find it beneficial. So I would love to just start with you kind of just explaining like what health coaching is, why someone might consider it, why it might be helpful for their health journey, and then we can kind of go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So you said it really well, just in that little intro. You know, a nutritionist is an expert in nutrition specifically. A health coach is an expert in behavior change. So when someone is trying to make a behavior change, trying to remove gluten from their diet or trying to heal their gut or trying to exercise more, whatever it is, there are habits and lifestyles that have been developed that aren't in alignment with that goal. And so as a health coach, we are experts in helping people walk the journey of moving their behavior closer to their goal. That's really what we do. And we do that in a bunch of different ways, but that's really what a health coach is, you know, there's a million exercise programs out there. There's a million diet programs out there. If Googling the program was the solution, we would have a lot of way healthier people, right? Clearly that's not working. So just having the program doesn't actually get us past those blocks, whatever they are, whether they're mental or lifestyle or anything. And so working with a health coach helps you go, okay, what are these blocks? Why have I downloaded 15 different diets and I haven't stuck to a single one? Why have I had a gym membership for 10 years and I've gone twice? That's what a health coach does.
That was a great explanation, and I'm so happy that you are here because I tell people all the time, I can give you the best diet in the whole entire world that is so individualized and perfect for you, but what if it isn't going to realistically fit into your life? Or what if you're not motivated or able or, you know, whatever the challenge is to really follow what my recommendations are, then it's kind of all a waste of my time, your time, and then they don't succeed.
Yep.
So we need more people like you. And I'm just wondering, what are some of the first steps that you take? Let's say you get a dietitian, you know, we give you a diet and say, okay, here's my patient, get them to follow this. Like, what is some of your first steps in the process?
Yeah, totally. So especially when we have that set up, which we love when we get to work with another medical practitioner and they say, here's what I need my patient to do. The first thing we do is we sit down with that patient and we ask them their understanding and their interpretation of what you told them to do. Because oftentimes it's totally different. They're like, well, they told me I can't eat anything. And we're like, no, they didn't. We're a lot more gentle than that. But we always start with like, what is your interpretation of what your practitioner is asking you to do? And then which of those pieces feels feasible for you to actually do? So one of the things I say with health coaching is, you know, you're working with a practitioner. So here's where you're at, here's where you want to be, your practitioner is going to hand you a set of concrete stepping stones of how to get there. And then as a health coach, we say, okay, which of these concrete stepping stones do you want to put on the ground first and step on that? And sometimes it's as simple as, okay, my nutritionist told me I need to cut out gluten, I need to cut out dairy, I need to cut out FODMAPs, I blah, 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 like all of these things. I don't feel like I can do any of that. Okay, cool. How about we start with one? Does one of those things feel doable? Well, gluten seems pretty easy. I think I could cut that out. Okay, great. How about we start with that? Where do you feel like you're going to hit a roadblock in that? Well, I have a cabinet full of Oreos and pasta, and I don't really know what to switch that out for. Okay, cool. Let's come up with some alternatives, and let's spend this week switching out your cabinet so that you have gluten-free options that are healthy for you. Does that sound doable? Yes. Okay, great. And then we take that step, and then that step becomes normal for them. Now eating gluten-free feels super doable, super normal. That's no longer overwhelming. And then we say, okay, what's the next step? Well, the next step is I need to go to the gym. Okay, cool. And we just keep doing that, like little step by step, so that step by step things start feeling normal, instead of it feeling totally overwhelming.
I love that. And that makes so much sense because, often these people come to us and there's so much we need to work on, right? And like that can be really overwhelming for everyone involved. So I love that you just like break down the process and you're like, okay, we're going to have one very concrete starting place and we're going to just focus on that because we really can't focus on like 10 things at once, right? Like it's not like this is our only job. We all have jobs, we have families, we have, commitments, that kind of thing. So I love that you really just like hyper focus on one thing at a time and have them, do that. And I think the other part of that that's really interesting is that like every time they do that, that's a little win, right? They're like, okay, I won. And that increases their confidence and they're probably feeling better already. And when they feel better, then they're able to do more things. So I think that makes a lot of sense in how you kind of start off people. Because some people are like, they want these crazy drastic changes really quickly. And it's just like, that's not sustainable. Like you're going to fall off the wagon. And so, having the patience is something that like I work on with my clients too. It's like, you have to know that this is a process. Like it is a journey and there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. So I love that. I love that you started with that.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear like, what do you find are the biggest roadblocks or biggest reasons that people find it difficult for behavior change or they find it, hard to start making new habits, anything like that you find is like a common thread through the clients you work with?
Yeah, absolutely. I would have to put those in categories. So I'd have to put that in, the category of making a lifestyle change around food, making a lifestyle change around exercise, making a lifestyle change around stress. So I'll kind of break it down that way. With food, at Live Nourished, we talk about food in 4 separate categories. And I think this is so important because a lot of times when people are doing a diet or working with a nutritionist, they'll only focus on a couple of these. And so they lose the whole picture. And then when they lose the whole picture, they fall off the wagon. So those 4 categories are energy. So calories in, calories out. Your body has to have fuel to function. And if we have more fuel than we need, we store it as fat. So that's what, the whole diet industry talks about is energy. But then we also have information. You guys know this so well. Fake sugar gives our body a completely different chemical response than broccoli does. So when we're eating something, what information are we giving our body? Are we giving our body information that this is food, or are we giving our body information to attack this thing like a virus? So what are we triggering our bodies to do? Then there's medicine, which is your guys' whole show, right? Food is either the fastest way to heal yourself or the slowest way to kill yourself. So what are you nourishing? Sometimes we make choices around, I'm not going to have XYZ because I'm going to choose to heal. And I know that food will heal. And then there's connection. And I think connection is where I would say 99% of the people that I work with fall off the wagon is they'll go to so-and-so's birthday and they're on this really specific diet and they'll have a piece of cake and then go, oh, I just totally ruined my food plan or my diet, whatever. And then they just completely throw it out the window instead of understanding that connection. So connection is food connects us to ourselves. It connects us to celebration. It connects us to each other, to culture, to tradition, to family, all of these things. And that is an equally important aspect of food to energy, information, and medicine. And so that fourth category, that connection, we talk all the time about, can you make a nourishing choice and have a burger and fries one time, even though you're on this really specific food plan? And can you see that as a nourishing choice because you're nourishing whatever it is, you're nourishing connection, you're nourishing girls' night, you're nourishing whatever. And then, the way that our body actually chemically processes that food when we're grateful for it and we're not stressed about what we're eating is completely different than when we eat a burger and then we shame ourselves for the next 2 weeks. Like that shifts us into information category and we're giving us different information. So teaching people, one of our goals when people work with us is that by the time they're done, they would be able to make a nourishing choice 100% of the time. And that doesn't necessarily mean bone broth and a salad 100% of the time. Sometimes that means cake and burger and fries. But if they don't see that as nourishing and they're guilting themselves, then they're off the wagon and we're not going to make that behavior change because our brains are hardwired to avoid failure because that's our fight or flight survival thing. So if we fail, we're just going to quit because that's actually an easier neuro pathway for our brain. But if we don't see it as failure, then we don't quit. So that's food. Exercise, I feel like there's so many, but the one that I hear a lot is kind of that all or nothing mentality of, well, I have to go to the gym 5 days a week or I'm not going to make it. And so for someone who hasn't been to the gym in 10 years, that's not going to happen. So I actually had a client a couple weeks ago who came in with that goal, hasn't been to the gym in 10 years. She was like, I'm going to get back in the gym. I'm going to start going 5 days a week. And I said, okay, how does it feel getting in your car and driving to the gym? She goes, terrifying. And I was like, okay. So if getting in your car and driving to the gym is terrifying, what's going to happen when you get there? Either you're going to get there and you're going to do it and you're going to do it for a week and your anxiety is going to be so high that you can't manage it, or you're just not going to do it. And I said, all right, what if we start by you literally just going to the gym? I just want you to get in the car. I want you to drive to the parking lot. I want you to sit there for 5 minutes and then you can drive home. And she was like, oh, okay, yeah, I can do that. Great. Awesome. And then, she did that for a week. Like she just went to the gym 5 days a week. And I was like, you actually just completed your goal. Like you did more in the direction of going to the gym than you have for years. Well done. And so then the next week, I said, okay, how about you just go in and you go into the locker room and just kind of like walk around, just see what equipment is there, look at what's available, maybe watch a couple people do something, spend 15 minutes there and then leave. She was like, yeah, okay, I can do that. So she did that 5 days a week. And so she's actually hitting her goal. She's going to the gym 5 days a week. But it's not this massive anxiety thing. And so then, eventually we work to, okay, let's go to the gym and let's get on the treadmill for 10 minutes. And while you're on the treadmill, I want you to watch what other people are doing and pick 3 exercises, really basic ones, not the stupid ones that people do, like throwing weights around. But can you watch someone do bicep curls? Can you watch someone do tricep presses? Can you watch someone do crunches? So we did that for 5 days. And then she started picking, and now she goes to the gym 5 days a week and does a 30-minute workout and she's awesome. But if we had started there, we would have never gotten there because she didn't even know how. So that's a big one is, we've actually made goals a 4-letter word at Live Nourished. We don't do goals. We do formations, for that reason. So, another great example of that is, if you say, I want to run a marathon, the only way you succeed at that goal is if you run a marathon. If you say, I want to be a runner, you succeed at that goal if you run half a block. And that gives those people those mini wins. So that's food, and then exercise, and then stress reduction is really the same thing, is just little teeny tiny things. Some people say, well, I need to reduce my stress, so I need to take an 8-day vacation. That sounds awesome. When is that going to happen? Well, 2 years from now. Okay, cool. So by then you're going to have hypertension and leaky gut and no marriage, and that's not a good plan. So you need a different plan. And so same thing, going, okay, can you set an alarm at noon every day and breathe for 30 seconds? Is that doable? Yes. Okay. So anyway, those three categories, all of that said, is making those behavior changes is often taking this huge idea and making it little tiny baby steps that we can then celebrate and gain traction in and make normal. Because a lot of times behavior change, people try to make massive sweeps and we can't get there, or then our pendulum goes all the way back the other direction and then some.
That was incredible. I've never heard, sort of all of those categories that you described in such a great way. And I couldn't agree with you more. It's all about just these little baby steps and just doing little baby steps. And also the idea of if you fail. So I actually say, like, a lot of my patients end up doing better after they fail because they then see the way it feels. Like, oh, when I add, this food back into my diet, I felt terrible the next day. And I'm like, great, that was such a big win because now you don't even want to add it back, And so, and I just love also the way that you described just food is nourishment, it's love, and it's information, and it's social enjoyment. And there's just we need to celebrate food. It's not all about just restricting and taking everything out and making our lives so difficult. It's really about, appreciating how healthy some of our food is and how, how much it can nourish our souls and everything. My question is that we're up against a society or a mindset of, well, if I take this pill, I'm going to feel better tomorrow. And, what you're asking me to do is way more expensive. It's so unenjoyable. It takes so much more work. And I don't even know if it's going to lead to the effects that I want it to. So how do we as clinicians, dietitians, nutritionists, fight against that, especially when a lot of doctors, I don't want to say all doctors, when a lot of doctors are saying that what they're recommending is probably better?
Yeah. Oof, that is a hard one. And it's a hard one culturally. We have been, trained with TikTok and Instagram and all these things. We have a 3-second attention span. And now we're telling someone, to heal your body, it's going to take a year at best. And they go, well, I can just go down the street and buy this drug from my doctor and then I'm fine. So part of it is when we're dealing with clients and we're dealing with patients, part of it is understanding our patient. We are going to have people who come to us who want a quick fix and have zero interest in the real long-term fix. And so part of that hard part for me is understanding that some people just want that and they're not going to be our clients. And that's okay. And then part of it is educating people on, when you put this drug in your system, it fixes this. However, it also causes nutritional deficiencies in this and this and this. We use a system called MyTavin. It's totally free. Do you guys know that? MyTavin? It's awesome. Like anybody can go to it. You don't have to be a practitioner. It's just mytavin.com. You can type in the name of your prescription and it'll bring up the nutritional deficiencies that are clinically shown to be caused by that. And then it'll tell you what those things cause. So, statins are notorious for magnesium deficiency and B12 deficiency. Okay, so you go on a statin for blood pressure, then what happens? Well, now your body's not absorbing B12, so you're exhausted all the time. And your body's also not absorbing magnesium. So now you're constipated, you're going to start gaining weight, you're going to start increasing your toxicity. And you're going to start having leg cramps and like brain cramps, basically. And so part of it is helping people understand that those medications are a quick fix, but they actually make things worse in the long run, because a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people go, well, if I take this, then I'm good. And you go, well, if you take this, then this is mediated, but it's not actually fixed. So a lot of it is education and empowering people to understand what is actually happening in their body so that they're not just told XYZ. And then the other thing that I've found really helpful is validating someone. So when we have people come and they're, I'm on an antidepressant and I'm on this and I'm on that and I'm on this, is validating them saying, it really sounds like you want to feel better. That's awesome. way to go. How are those things working for you? And usually they'll bring up like, well, I take this, but then I feel like this. So then I have to take this. And then I feel like this. And then I have to take this. And then I feel like this. And we go, okay, is that what you want? And usually the answer is no. And then you can kind of start walking them through the process of, medication is an option and Western medicine is a beautiful, wonderful miracle. I am not against Western medicine at all. Like antidepressants save lives. Thank you, God, for antidepressants.
Right.
And if you're dealing with depression and anxiety, there's something else going on. 95% of our serotonin is created in our gut. So why are we using a pill that affects our brain if the serotonin is created in our gut? And helping people understand that we can kind of do this thing and we can say, okay, right now you're on medication. How about we start doing this with nutrition and you'll start seeing what happens. But a lot of it is just education because people don't know and understanding where people are at because some people just don't want it and that's okay.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. I love so much of what you said, especially like the cultural thing, because it is such a cultural thing and the focus on education, because it's like us in the sphere. I think sometimes it's easy to forget that like people have pretty much no nutrition education, like very minimal health education, even from their doctors, like putting them on meds. A lot of them have no idea what that's actually doing. They don't really get that it's not actually like fixing the problem. It's kind of just covering it up.
Yeah.
And so I think like, yeah, the education piece is so, so, so important. The empowering piece as well. And those two I really work with too, because it's like, that is the key. And then people, you can educate, but if they're still like, oh, I don't know what to do, like you empowering them so they know like there is so much you can do. And I think a lot of the problem is like this either or mentality, right? It's like either I'll go on drugs or I'll do nutrition stuff. And it's like, no, you can stay on the pharmaceuticals if you need and work on all these other things, which will help you also hopefully fix a bit of that root cause, which we're all in the functional medicine sphere. Like that's really what we focus on, is getting to the root cause of any of those imbalances. And so just like helping people understand, which it sounds like you do, that like it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Like you can do the nutrition, you can do the exercise, you can do the whatever lifestyle stress management and still be on your medication. And sure, maybe you'll like decrease your medication after some time. But yeah, I think it's great that it's just like hitting it from all aspects, because obviously like in conventional medicine, often that's lacking so much. It's just like, go on this drug. Okay, see you next year. Right. In like 7 minutes. So it's really tricky. So that's why I'm so glad, like, health coaching is blowing up and like the functional medicine sphere is blowing up rather, and all these things. So,
same.
Yeah.
There's just a funny quote. There's a Dr. David DeNicolai. I think I'm saying that wrong, but he has a funny quote that says, if you go to your doctor and they give you a prescription without asking you about your sleep, your nutrition, and your exercise, you have a drug dealer, not a doctor. And I was like, ooh, that's stinky, but also really true.
Yes.
Yeah,
totally. And it's hard, right? Because it's like not necessarily the doctor's fault. It's like our healthcare system and our insurance and the training that they get and like all these things. And like, they only have a certain amount of time. So like, how can you really get into the nutrition? It's like this huge complex problem that could probably be like a whole 2-hour podcast in and of itself.
Exactly.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's something like there's only 27 med schools in the United States that even offer nutrition. And for the most part, that's one semester. Like, it's not your doctor's fault that they don't know. They just don't know. We're trained to see the world through the lens that we're trained, and they're trained to see the world through pharmaceuticals. So that's what they're going to give you. Yeah. Yep.
I was just having this conversation because I was explaining, I think it was actually to my parents, because even my parents have to be convinced sometimes that but I may have a good recommendation here and there. But I was explaining that like when you look into like the biology of our bodies, like literal, like to the cellular level, every single pathway relies on vitamins, minerals, amino acids, fatty acids, like nutrients.
Yes.
How is it possible that doctors aren't trained about nutrients? Like that's the core of our health and the way our body works is food. So it just boggles my mind that isn't something that is the number one thing they're taught. Like, forget about just one class. It should be multiple classes, but then again, I wouldn't have a job. So I'm good.
Totally. It's funny. I actually thought about going into med school. I had a crazy path. I ended up teaching math for 9 years and then going into personal training and then finding functional medicine. But I'm so thankful I didn't become a doctor. And one of the things that I've learned in this functional medicine journey is, as practitioners, we actually do nothing. If you cut your arm will heal itself. Putting the Band-Aid on it is kind of just a nice gesture. And so, as health coaches, as nutritionists, we just help get your body in the space to do what it was designed to do before. Like, we actually don't do anything. We just set you up right with the fundamental building blocks so that your body can heal itself. We don't, and it's crazy that doctors aren't taught that. Like, wait, no. Yeah. It's mind-boggling.
Totally. So I would love to, we've kind of talked about diets a little bit, but I would love to kind of get your take on diets in general. Like, obviously, there's always a new diet coming out: keto, carnivore, paleo, vegan, you name it. And often people are jumping around, right? They jump around to different diets and one didn't work, so they try another one. So can you just talk a bit about diets in general, what your experience with them is, why they work, is their best diet, anything like that would be great to touch on.
Yeah, absolutely. Why I chuckled when you said why they work, because they don't.
Right.
The diet industry, I think, is a $300 billion industry with a 95% fail rate.
Wow.
Like, why are we still giving these people our money? If you went to the mechanic and they said, this is going to be $400 and it's probably not going to work, would you give them $400? Absolutely not. But for whatever reason, when it comes to diets, we just keep shelling out our money. So I chuckle at that because there are a zillion diets and they don't work. Not a single one does. I think right now the statistic, if you Google diet, it's something like 100 billion search results come up. Clearly, if that was working, we would have enough options. They just don't. And there's nothing new under the sun. Keto is just Atkins. Atkins was popular 15 years ago. Now it's keto. It's the same thing. So that was my little soapbox. I'm off the soapbox. So what do I do when someone comes to me with a diet? The first thing I ask them is, why are you interested in that? Because I want to understand what it is that they're wanting. So, are you wanting weight loss? Have you heard of people having results getting rid of autoimmune disease? Why is that what you're looking for? And then we talk about, okay, what is a better option for that? That's, not totally restrictive, that doesn't put you in a box. And then I say, do you actually understand how your body functions on a higher fat diet? Do you understand how your body functions with XYZ? And most of the time people go, what? And so one of the things that we do with people when they first start working with us, we do what's called a food, mood, poop journal. It's super simple. I literally have them track what they eat, their energy level, how they feel, and what their poop looks like. And it's not rocket science. People look at this and they go, oh my gosh, when I have a meal that's really high in fat, I feel awesome 2 hours later. When I have a meal that's really high in processed sugar, I feel horrible 2 hours later. And they've never made this connection. And part of that is, I think a big part of the reason the diet industry has such a huge fail rate is that we have outsourced our own understanding of our bodies to an app that counts calories or to a print off from Google about what meals to make for a week. And I've completely outsourced that. And so I have absolutely no idea how it's actually affecting me. One of my favorite stories with the food mood poop journal, we had a client who came to us who was trying to lose weight and has tried everything: keto, paleo, low carb, you name it, she's tried it. Eating 800 calories a day, which is awful and should never be done unless you're super obese and under medical observation. She's tried everything. And so we had her do a food, mood, poop journal. She's Italian. Her family has been Italian forever. And I said, I just want you to eat the way you want to eat for a week. don't make any changes. Don't eat paleo or keto or anything. Just eat what you want to eat. And what happened is when she eats complex carbohydrates, she feels awesome. When she doesn't eat complex carbohydrates, she feels horrible. And so we said, okay, you've been doing all of these different diets that have zero, like very few to zero carbs, and your body's been in fight or flight for 15 years. How about we just add in some carbohydrates? And of course, she's freaking out because that's the absolute opposite of what the diet industry says to do. But she tried it and she started losing weight. And we're like, huh.
Yeah.
Turns out when you listen to your body, we get where we want to be. So that's sort of my 2 cents on diets is they don't work. There isn't a single one that works. I try super hard to not name names, but there's a like kind of new fatty one out there that the people who've done it like become health coaches, which is horrifying in this diet. And it's all prepackaged and it's like super low calorie. It's just horrible. And we now have 3 clients who've come to us who've had autoimmune disease triggered by this. And one of the practitioners that we partner with has several clients who's come to her. So it's just, anyway, diets don't work. So don't do them. We need to figure out what is right for your body. And there is no one size fits all. So that's my 2 cents. It's like, don't even Google it. Just remove that from your vocabulary completely. Don't look for the next one. Let's figure out a different plan.
Yeah, that is exactly it. I wish every person in the world would hear that. because I mean, every person is completely unique. And when you go onto these social media sites and they're almost, it's like a very political thing almost, like you'll get some angry people saying, well, vegan, everyone has to be vegan or everyone has to be keto. And if you start having problems on those diets, they keep trying to come up, oh, it's because you're not getting enough of this or salt or this, or you're not taking enough of this supplement. I'm like, no, it's because a diet that is appropriate for one person is appropriate for one person. That is it. You're not going to find what is appropriate for you when you look online and they're making these generalizations for everyone. So I could not agree with you more. And I just wish that everybody would hear that sentiment that you just gave.
Keto might be the best thing for your sister-in-law and the absolute worst thing you can do.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And then it's also I agree with what you're saying is like, it's not all about these calories in and calories out. There's so many underlying factors that are either inhibiting you from losing weight and the thing about the carbs and the resistant starch, like we've gone through so many stages in this, like in history where all of a sudden fat is the worst thing for you. And we should all just eat all this no fat foods that have like not one ingredient on it that's like a whole food, because now it's all like weird chemicals to replace the fat texture, And now we're in this phase of like no carbs. And I literally tell everyone, like, you need to be eating carbs. We need to add carbs back to your diet. And people have become fearful of these foods. And it's very hard to overcome that fear, when they think like a certain food just should not be on their plate. And now I'm like, no, you actually need to add pasta.
No, I need you to add this. And then I want you to pay attention to how you feel. Exactly. And typically when they do that, they go, oh, I actually feel good.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So can you give us a little more information about like exactly what your business is composed of? Like, what do you do? What do you offer? Who do you think is your target, customer? Kind of give us a little more information about your business.
Absolutely. We're still working on dialing that in, to be totally honest, because we have people all over the whole spectrum, but really we have 2 sides of our business. So one is direct to clients, and we primarily work with women largely because myself and all of my staff are women. And so our messaging connects better with women, but we do have a handful of men, which is super cool. But a lot of times we work with the people who feel like they have tried absolutely everything. They've hit a plateau. They don't know what to do. They've started a diet 15 times and fallen off the radar, or fallen off the wagon. They have gas and bloating and gut issues, and they just can't figure it out. That's who we work with. We work with the people who go, I don't even know what else to do. and I've tried this a million times and I've never gotten anywhere. And typically what we find with those people is it has a ton to do with mindset. The way that they're thinking about food, the way that they're thinking about their lifestyle is what we need to tweak. So that's really who we work with. So the people who just go, I don't know what to do. Those are our people. And then we have a whole nother side of our business, which is we support practitioners like you. We support registered dietitians. We support functional medicine doctors, because you guys are the experts in this is the food plan that you need. And then those people go home and they have absolutely no idea how to implement that because it feels so overwhelming. So we work with clients, who have a doctor. We actually have a partnership program where we can have people sign a HIPAA compliance and we can work with that person's medical practitioner. So if someone has a practitioner and doesn't have a health coach, we can step in and help bridge that gap. But then we also work directly with practitioners who go, I want to support my people better. And I don't have the time to do it. I don't have the time to sit on the phone with someone while they clean out their pantry because they don't know what to eat. That's what we do. So we sort of have those three aspects. And really it's my sort of one line is we work with humans and we allow them to be humans while they go through this healing process. Because we're humans and we're not going to get it right all the time. And we're going to be on a food plan and then eat chocolate cake. And that's okay. We can't hold ourselves to these perfectionistic standards and think it's going to work. So that's who we work with.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And I love the line about the humans because it's like perfection is not possible. I always say like progress over perfection. And again, like even Stacey was saying before, just using those times as information to then, have more motivation to stick to the plan and that kind of thing. So thank you so much for coming on, Hallie. Is there any last words, anything on like mindset even that you think would be really helpful for our listeners that you think, helps your clients? Any last takeaways like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say if you can start asking yourself the question, what am I nourishing with this choice? You will start moving towards making more nourishing choices. And that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to go for a run. Sometimes the nourishing choice is to take a nap. But that's what I want my clients to walk away with is, can you make a nourishing choice 100% of the time? And that just starts with awareness. So it just starts with asking yourself the question, what am I nourishing right now? If I'm picking up my water, what am I nourishing? If I'm picking up a Diet Coke, what am I nourishing? And just being conscious of that. So yeah, that's what I would say. And then if you want to talk with us more, you're welcome to go to our website and book a free consult because we also love figuring that out. So yeah, livenourishcoaching.com. We would love to talk to you for free and help you figure out what that next step is in your journey. And oftentimes that's a referral out. That's a referral to a dietitian or to a personal trainer or to a whatever. So we've got those resources and we love connecting people.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. This was so much fun for me. I know Leah loved it as well. There's your contact information listed up there, but you mentioned, and if you want to say it one more time, you can go ahead.
Yeah, totally. Go to our website, livenourishcoaching.com, book a free consult. It's right there in the upper right-hand corner. And we would just love to talk to you about what your next step is and help you figure out where to go next.
Awesome. And you guys stay listening in for some contact information for Stacey and Leah, and we'll all see you next time.
Thanks so much for listening. If you found this episode helpful, we'd love if you left a rating and review and shared it with someone else who would find it helpful. You can find more information about Leah at gracefunctionalnutrition.com and get in touch with her through email at leah@gracefunctionalnutrition.com or on Instagram at gracefunctionalnutrition. To find more information about Stacey, you can find her at healfromfood.com, email her at stacey@healfromfood, or on social media at healfromfood. See you next time.